I really want to know what Darko said to the Raptors at halftime. Because my God, I've seen some bad third quarters from the Raptors this year. Some really big stinkers. But to come out like that in the third, in a winner-take-all game, no defensive pressure, no sharpness with the season up for grabs, man, we had a chance. After a hard-fought series, the shorthanded Raptors finally faded, losing 114-102 to end their season against the Cavs. And look, it has been a fun one. We'll do a full season debrief later in the week, but I want to talk about Game 7. Today we're going to talk about what went wrong, specifically in that horrific third quarter. We're going to do our final player ratings of the season, and then we're going to talk about some learnings that I had from this series. This is The Morning Whistle. My name is Aaron Nerone. We all knew it was going to be hard for the Raptors to win Game 7. We haven't won on the road in Cleveland in years, and of course we were shorthanded. But when we started this game strong, locked in defensively, we were making our threes, they had us convinced that this team had a chance. And when I think of the story of this game, the first thing that comes to my head is promising start, blown in the third. The Raptors started the game really well. And like each of the previous two games, they had a really good first 6 minutes. We were hitting our threes. Barrett and Barnes had a clear strategy of getting the ball and finding the open man. And we were defending again really hard and forcing turnovers. It looked like this was going to be a game. The problem was every time we got momentum, we gave it back up quickly. We did not start the third ready to play. It was a 9-0 run for Cleveland to start that quarter. They ended up scoring 38 points to our 19. And when I think of what happened, well, it's pretty simple. One, Jarrett Allen just took control of that game. We had no answer for him in the paint. Barnes and Barrett just didn't have enough of the ball. Missed free throws, soft passes. Cleveland locked in, and we didn't. And really, I look at it and say one team came locked in that third like it was their season on the line. The other team, which was us, looked like it was just any other quarter. And that was really disappointing. The shorthanded bench finally caught up to us, though. And we knew that without IQ the whole series, and certainly without Brandon Ingram, that certain players were just playing out of their zone. Of course, Shed and Walter being the two key ones. And their inability to hit a three in the second half killed us. I think the two of them had maybe 4 threes in the first half and only 1 in the second half, and that was very late by Jacoby when the game was already out of hand. Barrett also ran out of steam, and him having to go shot after shot, run after run, really just looked like it was a little too much for him. Lastly, CMB really struggled along the glass with Jarrett Allen, who really took him to town. That forced Pirtle to come in the game, but it was really tough, and you could see that our legs finally ran out. I was surprised it took this long, but our lack of a proper big man finally killed us. Jarrett Allen was massive. He had 8 offensive boards, close to 20 points, and we had no answer. Every time there was a loose ball on, when they missed a shot, we had no answer every time he got the ball in and around the basket. And Jakob Poeltl was just way too weak in the minutes that he had. We know he's never been the fleetest of foot, but he was just bouncing around like a pinball, and Allen was doing whatever he wanted. It was really, really sad to see that. And last, I thought another key factor of this game was you saw the impact of confident shooters. Cleveland didn't shoot the ball well for much of this series. They really, really didn't. When you think of the guys they have on their roster who can shoot 2 to 3 threes a game, Merrill, Strus, Tyson, and of course Harden and Mitchell, they were very, very sloppy. But the difference was in this series, when it mattered, when they were going on those runs, one of those guys would step up and make a shot, and they were confident to keep going. Meanwhile, on our team, we really only had one guy who was comfortable shooting threes throughout the series, and that was Jacoby Walter. Ultimately, it was a really difficult game because I really thought that in the first half we set ourselves up for success. I really thought that if we could have kept up our defensive effort in the second half, we would have been able to make it tight and panic Cleveland. The problem was when they kept going back to the big guys down low, we just didn't have an answer for it. We took some fouls. That then caused our defensive effort to drop. It was pretty disappointing. But to be honest, when you look at our relative lack of size and our relative lack of shooting, you do say to yourself, well, it was bound to happen at some point. So let's do our final player ratings of the season. We're going to rate each Toronto Raptor on a scale of A to D. We're going to start with the starting lineup. Jamal Shed, once more in the starting lineup. He gets a B. Look, I really like him. He was a bulldog. He had a really good first half. 14 points in the first half. Was making threes. Was driving to the basket even knowing the rim protection that Cleveland has. Was not scared. Really hard defensively. But the problem, like other games in the series, he faded. No points in the second half, and his inconsistency in his three-point shooting emerged. Ultimately, what is his role? It is best being, a decent utilization bench player. RJ Barrett is a C+. He ran out of steam in this game. He played 43 minutes and wasn't as sharp. You could see that his legs weren't really there. 1 of 6 on three-point shooting. And again, his only three-point make was late in the fourth. He had 6 assists, but too many misses. 9 of 25. And I think he was like 5 from 19 through 3 quarters. So it was a really tough start to the game for him. He ran out of gas. And maybe, again, you look at this and say why he's best off as a number 3 option. Jacoby Walter was a B. Really, really good defensively today. Took a few charges, 3 steals, kept shooting, as I said. You can really see a role for him emerging here, and I don't know if he'll be ready to be a starter next year, but he's moving into that 3-and-D type player. Really, really happy with him. Scotty Barnes was the B+. I thought he was our best player again. Really, really sharp early. Had the ball, made some shots, really opened up the court. He did struggle in the third quarter like most players. Part of that was due to foul trouble. He got on his 5th foul in the third. He was our best player, though, and I do want to acknowledge the fact that he probably was banged up. You could see him limping at moments. Really, really high on what he did in this series, and if only a healthy BI was there, too, and an IQ. Jakob Poeltl, I'm giving him a D. I've given him a C for much of this series, but, man, right off the bat, got into foul trouble. 2 early fouls, got to come off the game. Missed his first 3 free throws. Struggling on the glass. I mean, he let Jarrett Allen just absolutely dominate him. And look, I know he's not been 100% healthy, but you got to show some muscle. And it was an absolute non-factor. It was pretty sad to see that they just kept going at him. And the number of offensive rebounds that Cleveland got, I mean, that's an indictment on him because he has length. Something needs to be done there. Colin Murray-Boyles is a B. Again, he did get a little exposed by Allen, but stayed aggressive, and I just really like how hard he fights. And again, for what he's done in this series, outstanding. Jamison Battle was a C+. Came in early, immediately spaces the floor, immediately hits a 3, doesn't get a lot of opportunity after that. I do appreciate part of it is his defensive vulnerability, but again, when we couldn't make shots, you only wish you had someone with his shooting confidence on the floor. Sandro Mamukelashvili is a C-. He had less minutes than both Battle and Lawson, and this was just a really tough matchup for him. He's too small to guard the bigs, was isolated at the 4, but ultimately wasn't confident shooting the 3, which he'd done all season. Like, his reckless shooting abandon just dropped, and he was doing these weird plays with the ball where he'd get it, fake, make a pass. Sometimes he would turn it over. Just didn't seem to know what to do, and that was a problem for someone who we relied on earlier in the series. Last was AJ Lawson. I thought he played well today. Very good hustle. Hard foul on Jarrett Allen near the post. Just didn't let the guy get easy buckets. But the fact that he played 15 minutes was more an indictment on the depth of our team. But ultimately for him, I thought he performed well. So you take all of this and you say, well, where do we go from here? And look, it was a really tough way to lose, but this team did well given the circumstances. Again, no IQ all series, no Ingram for 2.5 games, and no Poeltl, or at least no capable Jakob Poeltl. And so I really appreciated to see a lot of our guys, both veterans and young players, step up, and I learned a lot about this group. Here were 5 key learnings that I had from this series. Number 1, RJ Barrett proved himself as a viable scoring option in the playoffs. The most important quality for a playoff scorer is someone who can create shots managing through increased physical contact. And that is what RJ Barrett did in this series. Constantly driving, was able to overcome the fouls, the arms. He would constantly go up, and he demonstrated his ability to finish. And yes, Game 7 wasn't good enough, but he had overplayed. And again, I look at him to say he's not a number 1 option. He's a good 2 to 3. Number 2, I thought Jacoby Walter and Jamal said set the defensive tone for this group. And both players will really need to continue to develop for us. And I hope they can be a really big part of our future. I had said in my last video, when Ingram was out of the game or didn't play at the end and these two were on, our defensive cohesiveness just really rose. Both of them are going to enable us to win tough games, and they're going to need to continue to develop, but I like their future. 3, Jakob Poeltl is the biggest problem that this team has. Look, we need a center. We've said this before, when we don't have a real center on the court, we get exposed, whether it's CMB after a while or Scotty playing the 5. But he's nowhere near his best, but he's clearly healthy enough to play. He's just a complete liability. And at $20 million, I mean, we need to find a way to get rid of him and get someone else who can even just stand there and not give up rebounds. But ultimately, we're going to continue to lose if we have a guy who's 7 feet tall playing like he's 6'5". 4, Darko is going to have to address the third quarter lulls next year. It happened way too much this season, including games 1 and 7 of this series. And I do wonder if at times he is too calm, too patient with this group at halftime. I can totally imagine a world where he needs to be a little tougher on them to start the third with more urgency, something for him to work at. Last, and this is my most important takeaway, I think we should give it one more shot with IQ, BI, Scotty, and RJ. If we had IQ in this series, his shot making would have significantly helped us when you think about the moments where we were struggling to get momentum. It would have taken off the load of Jacoby Walter and Jamal Shed, put them into more manageable minutes, and he would have been able to take off some of the ball handling pressure from Barnes and Barrett, giving them more rest. I also believe BI was clearly compromised even at the start of this series, and we do know what this guy can do. If Walter Shed can go back to playing more manageable minutes, if Barrett can go back to being a number 3, if we could just get a center who can physically be there and be a good defensive presence, I would love to see what the other 4 guys can do. So that's my thought. Like, I know people are going to disagree with me. I know people are going to say we're going to have to trade an RJ and get a more established scoring option. But this series has shown me that the group that we have is better than we think. And if IQ can come back healthy, I would love to see what they can do. Anyways, on to next year. This is The Morning Whistle. I'm Aaron Arona.